We've passed on all we know.
Wait a second. You've all seen that, I'm sure you did. Roll the credits. Hello, I'm Chris Cook, your host for Toys of the Jedi, and welcome to our coverage for Day 2 of Star Wars Celebration. Now, as I'm sure everybody watching this channel will have seen the Star Wars trailer for Episode 9. That was released after the Episode 9 panel at Star Wars Celebration. So we're just going to go through some of the images that were seen in the panel, and then a couple of the images in the trailer to see what sort of potential toys we might expect from Hasbro and other licensees in the coming months, particularly around about Triple Force Friday later on in the year. So looking at the Community of Star Wars Collectors Facebook group, they've actually grouped the new images together on a nice handy dandy album, so we're just going to go through those now. Now, first of all, we can see Rey in her new Jedi outfit. This is going to be, obviously, it's a very clean look, similar to the sort of look she had in The Force Awakens, but also very prequel looking as well. It should make for an interesting figure in both the 3.75 and Black Series 6-inch scale as well. Hopefully we'll get some of those available on Force Friday, and again, I'm hoping for one of those in the vintage collection. That should be quite nice. Now, just looking at the next image, Finn finally has a proper change of costume. In fairness, we didn't get one of him in his bubble Bacta suit from The Last Jedi, but the main costume was actually fairly similar to that he had in The Force Awakens. So this looks a bit more interesting. He's got plenty of gear attached to him, which always helps. So yeah, this is a good figure, one that's interesting enough to pick up a spare of. He's got the blue jeans there. It looks a little bit Han Solo-esque with sort of like the body warmer top, the blue trousers there. Obviously no Corellian blood stripe down the side, but yeah, definite Han Solo vibe coming off that one there. Now, Poe Dameron, as we were watching the panel, I was sat with John from, you may know from previous videos. He commented to me that actually this looks very Indiana Jones, and it's a very good shout. He does have a certain Indiana Jones feel to him, and yeah, again, very different costume to the ones that he's previously been in. So this is a really good shout for an action figure. So far, so good. These are all looking very good. And as someone put in the comments there, looks a bit like, I think that's Uncharted. Is it in that image? So yeah, but it's a good look on Poe Dameron there. Now, Kylo Ren basically just looks like a dirtier version of his previous costumes. There may be some slight tweaks to the cape, but nothing that really stands out as being massively different. And his scar seems to have healed up a little bit from the previous films as well. But yeah, you can't have a Star Wars line without the main baddie, so of course we're going to get a figure of Kylo. Now, this one is an interesting one. Funny that he hasn't changed his costume or changed his outfit since before the Rebellion days, but nonetheless, Billy Dee does look absolutely fantastic in the yellow garb that Donald Glover wore in the Solo film. This should make for a decent figure. Hopefully, with the images being released early enough, Hasbro have managed to get something in place and make sure Lando is available in the first wave. And Rose Tico does get a completely new outfit as well. Gone are the work overalls that she had from the previous film, and it seems to be more of an officer look to this one. No rank or insignia there as yet, so we'll have to wait and see what happens to her, what character development she goes through on that one. But certainly a different enough outfit for it to be made into an interesting figure choice. Now, this is the one I'm kind of most excited for. New character, rumoured to be Lando Calrissian's daughter, or at least that's what they were making it out to be on the stage. Didn't really get any confirmation either way of that, but certainly an interesting look as well. Hopefully we will get Naomi's character in a Black Series version and vintage collection one as well. As looking at the outfit, it looks to lend itself more to soft goods than a hard plastic cape. So yeah, definitely one that I'm looking forward to there. So we also know that Chewbacca is of course back in this film. Not really a huge amount you can do to make Chewbacca look different. Maybe give him a a Chewbacca, a Eunice Suetamo's son accessory to go with him, which would make it a bit of an interesting purchase. But otherwise, it's much the same for the big Wookiee. So no idea who this chap is. Again, they were a bit sparse on the details during the panel. Didn't elaborate on who the characters were, but looks like a background alien, ground crew. So good one to fill out dioramas with. Hopefully some interesting accessories to come with him as well. Another background alien, I'm guessing. Maybe a more prominent one, but certainly an interesting look to this character. I'm guessing Resistance, judging by the scuffed up nature of the armor and what have you, but who knows? Could be a mercenary or something like that. Still, should make for an interesting figure. Now this one is a bit of an odd one. I'm not entirely convinced that this slug-like creature really fits the aesthetic with those big bug eyes and mouth. Yes, there are definitely similarities to Jabba the Hutt, but I kind of feel he looks a bit more Space Precinct than Star Wars. It just, I don't know, maybe once we see him moving and interacting with the other characters I'll feel differently, but at the moment he doesn't feel like a properly Star Wars alien. Greg Grunberg obviously on the left there, so good to see that Snap Weckley is back. Maybe we'll get a super articulated version of him, or even just a 5POA version with a removable helmet would be a good start. So yeah, because he's definitely speaking pilot. Deserves a figure with a removable helmet. So you can see that face of his. Now we did get some images of some backgrounders, maybe Jeddah, judging from the background. They said they'd done some filming in Jordan, which is where the Jeddah scenes were filmed for Rogue One, so that's a definite possibility. Got a similar look for it, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Bit of a blurry image, unfortunately, on that one, so not really able to make any details out. But maybe a multi-pack for those. Now, of course, BB-8 was up on stage. Not really much that you can change to this character. Maybe have some accessories to pop out of his panels that you can pop in and out. That would be certainly an interesting way of doing things. But of course, we will get him at some point in the line. I'm absolutely certain of that. Now, he was joined by a new droid, Dio, which is a bit of an odd one. Some of the concept sketches that they showed made him look more like a duck and what have you. This could be an interesting one to see how he actually manages to stand up, as it were. Obviously Hasbro tackled that without giving BB-8 a slightly flat side to the round ball. Probably tackle this with a similar sort of approach. I imagine we'll get to this droid at some point. Right, so moving on to the trailer itself. Obviously, we did see some images of BB-8 and his new pal Dio again. I like what somebody's put there with the Pixar lamp. Definitely reminiscent of that. New lightsaber for Rey, or it's rather a new old lightsaber. So Hasbro can't just crank out the same old mold that they used for the Anakin and Luke Skywalkers, and indeed the old Rey one. This is going to have a slightly different hilt to it. You can see it's been, as they put it in the thing, held together with gaffer tape, fixed to put the two parts together. So yeah, slight tweak to that, and obviously we'll see that with the new character. Just good to see she's also still carrying her blaster. Now what looks like a TIE silencer, whether it is exactly the same or not, I think it is a slightly different version of it. So again, that hasn't been selling brilliantly over here, so whether they try another version of that or not is anybody's guess at this stage. Now this speeder that Poe, Finn and 3PO were escaping on looks like it could be an interesting one. Good to see 3PO in the thick of the action for a change. It's been a little while since he was properly in all that. Probably Return of the Jedi, if I'm honest. So good to see him there. All shiny as well. Got his gold arm back to normal and what have you. So yeah, it's certainly a decent one. And again, I feel hopefully they'll go for some super articulation on these figures so that they can really interact with these vehicles a bit more, rather than just arms forward and legs forward to sit down in it sort of thing. So yeah, that should be a good one. Confirmation here that we've got Kylo Ren's helmet coming back together after it was smashed up on the finalizer, I believe. But it's definitely not Kylo Ren's hands that are putting this together, so maybe there's another little battle pack to be seen there. Goodness knows how that's going to work into the story, but it's certainly interesting to find out. Now, to me, that is definitely a Death Star. That's the radar dish. It does beg the question, which planet is this? I'm saying the second Death Star. It could, of course, be the first. Very unlikely. But with the Emperor's voice that followed, it seems very likely that this is indeed the second Death Star. Maybe that's scope for some broken up playset parts in there. Who knows? And of course, the Emperor. The voice was there. Are we getting a clone? Is it an exact replica? How is this going to fit into this? Is it just a recording, something that Kylo's gone on to do following he's lost faith in the Vader side of things and moved on to the Emperor? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, certainly interesting. We did, of course, get Lando Calrissian, as I mentioned previously, back on board the Millennium Falcon. So nice headset accessory somewhere there. That would certainly work quite well. And of course, a Yavin Ceremony medal, so we're not sure how that'll play into things, whether Chewbacca finally gets one or what on that. So hopefully we'll get a Princess Leia figure. Would be nice, given this is more than likely going to be the very last film that we see Carrie Fisher's representation of Princess Leia, certainly. So it'd be good to get a nice figure of her. So that's the trailer images out the way. Some interesting stuff coming down the pipe potentially, and hopefully we'll see more of that on Force Friday. Now, during the Star Wars show, they did also release the package imaging for what's going to be available on Force Friday, and this is it. Quite reminiscent of the sort of Last Jedi and Force Awakens stuff, but also the movie Heroes line, where you had Darth Vader up in the top there, reaching out towards the viewer, as it were. It's an interesting style. It certainly defines it from the other two films, which is always good. It makes it unique to that particular film, which I like. I kind of need to see what a figure on this card back is going to look like before I really embrace it properly. For me, it's always the vintage collection anyway, but this doesn't look too bad. Now, just before we dive into the Hasbro panel, Fantatrax did showcase that Fantasy Flight Games are indeed releasing a new expansion to their Star Wars Legion game, and this is the Combat Assault Tank. It's a lovely little miniature, as you can see. Comes with a couple of different cards, plenty of tokens and what have you. And yeah, these, if you haven't come across them before, are absolutely fantastically detailed miniatures and well worth picking up. I've got the X-Wing miniatures game and also the Imperial Assault game, and both are great fun. Well worth having a little look into at least. So do head on over to Fantatrax to see the information on this product. Right, now the important one, the Hasbro panel presentation. I wasn't able to be there, so I was living vicariously through sites like Jedi Business, Fall Onto Dockers, Jedi News, Fantatrax, and of course Star Wars Action News, all of whom did some fantastic work covering the panel by tweet, and you may have seen some of that on our feed. Now, for the actual photos themselves, I'm going to go through Jedi Temple Archives gallery on Facebook. They've got it nicely presented here. So if we just go through the images one at a time. Now, first of all, of course, they introduced the panel, the usual suspects there. And of course, they then went on to talk about the exclusives that they actually had at the show, including the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul, who we have showcased on a previous show. They also showed that they are doing some new lightsabers, and they played a video here at this point where you can actually interact with an app to show how you're improving as your skills. It gives you stats based on all that sort of thing. You can battle against another person who's got a different lightsaber, and you can change from being a light side user to a dark side user by tapping the crystal. It does actually look like quite an interesting product, so we'll see what happens when those actually are available to the public. They also said that they were focusing on The Empire Strikes Back for this year, as it is the 40th anniversary, and again highlighted the Luke Skywalker Dagobah figure as the winner. Luke Skywalker's an interesting character. I still feel we probably would have got him further down the line rather than some of the others on there, like the 2-1B, Wedge, or the Lobot figures, and maybe they should have been a little bit higher, but that's wishful thinking. Either way, I'm sure Hasbro will make a fantastic figure. Moving on to the Black Series, and they did show some packaged shots of the Obi-Wan Kenobi, Chopper, and Ezra Bridger figures. These are all available to pre-order now, and also come in the same wave as Dr. Aphra and her 2 droids, 000 and BT1. Always get those mixed up. They look like fantastic figures. I know a couple of my mates are very excited about getting hold of these ones. They also showed the packaging for the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now this is a Walgreens exclusive, so going to be a slightly more difficult one to track down, but I know a lot of the usual suspects have said they are getting this figure in for pre-order and into the UK. Nice packaging on that one again. Definitely like the artwork from Gregory Titus, so yep, very pleased with that one. They also gave packaging reveals for the Archive line Wave 2, so this is your Biker Scout, Darth Maul, Anakin Skywalker and Yoda. All of these are re-releases but with improved face deco printing on the humanoid features, the ones that aren't masked, shall we say. Moving on to the vintage collection, and these are the images that we showed just the other day. So Luke Skywalker, Imperial Gunner, Imperial Assault Tank Commander, and R2-D2. This is the first time that R2-D2 has come on a Star Wars card, so very excited about that one there. They did a bit of coverage of the sail barge and how it is now available, and these are some of the characters going to be available for it. As we mentioned yesterday, and Jedi Temple Archives hinted at, the 3 Skiff Guard figures were going to come individually carded, and this is inside a 3-pack box. I think these were available in Spain in the actual original vintage line as part, and this was the way that you'd get your 3 figures out there. And what happens is once they're out of the box, you get each one on a beautiful card, all of their own. These are all stills taken from the movie or from production photography. None of the photoshopped artwork on these, which is fantastic. Much prefer it when they do those. But we do get confirmation of the numbers there. VC 152 for Vidane, 153 for Vizam, and 154 for Brock Starsha. Definitely looking forward to getting hold of these. Packaging for the new skiff was actually revealed as well. You can see in the background the Jabba's sail barge. That was apparently 9 foot behind the image to really give it some scale. This evokes a little bit of the Kenner feel of the box, but I'm glad they went for this style rather than the drawn artwork of the Power of the Force line. So yeah, very pleased with this one. Can't wait to get my hands on that. Moving on to the Black Series, we did see the Emperor, which was leaked by Flyguide.net. Well, leaked through Amazon, and Flyguide.net managed to pick that up. This is going to be an Amazon exclusive. He does indeed come with multiple sets of hands, his throne, 3 faces. So yeah, very, very nice figure there. Now this next one did cause a bit of controversy. The Galaxy's Edge Black Series figures. That's a couple of different 3-4 packs if you include the mouse droid, which is your Commander's Pyre, Kylo Ren, and a Mountain Trooper and the mouse droid there. That's going to be a Galaxy's Edge store exclusive, so you have to go to the park to actually pick this one up. Very nice packaging. Again, this was leaked a little while ago, so nothing overly new here. But they did also show a Star Tours set, which is R2-D2, C-3PO, BB-8 are the main ones that you'll be familiar with, but there's also a DJ-R3X or Rex, Captain Rex droid from the Star Tours ride is going to be in the set. While the R2 unit and the BB-8 are repacks with nice new paint jobs, C-3PO actually has all new arms with articulated elbows and more articulated wrists. So I think they also said that the legs on this one are improved as well. So so yeah, first chance to get that, so indicating that he'll probably be re-released at some point further down the line. Just the packaging of that box again using the Gregory Titus artwork. Now they did say on the front of these that they aren't going to be labeling them as Disney and Hasbro, as these are going to sit within the Galaxy's Edge stores, and so they want to try and maintain the feel that these are actually in-world products. Still looks very nice on the sets there. Now the third set that they're releasing is going to be Rey on her Jedi training gear, a couple of Porgs, Chewbacca, and the important one from this set is Hondo Ohnaka, who is going to be playing a decent sized role in the Galaxy's Edge theme park. This one, and I think the others, are all going to retail at about $69.99, so quite pricey, and that's before you've paid for your entry to get into the park, or you've paid some scalper to go and get that for you. So like I say, the controversy with this, when this was all announced as being exclusives to the park, was met with some boos in the in the audience. I'm quite glad I'm not all in on the Black Series, because these ones would cost me an absolute fortune to get hold of. Still, looks like a very nice figure. Hopefully they'll see the error out their ways and actually release Hondo Anaka as a single packed figure. I think there's definitely call for that. Similar sort of packaging on these, slightly different to the other two sets. I imagine this will be available in a different store than the first order set and what have you, just the way that Disney are working through on that. They then went to touch on their San Diego Comic-Con exclusives and talked about the prototype phase, how they just use whatever colour plastic is lying around to make a basic figure. And a lot of collectors do like that. They less so in the comments on the right hand side, but it's an interesting way of showing some of these bits and pieces. But they talked about potentially releasing some of them. First up would be a Darth Vader from the Retro line. Again, San Diego Comic-Con exclusive here. They talked about this being available in a variety of colours, and it was a bit of a mix and match as to which one you get. So variant hunters are going to have an absolute nightmare trying to track down any variants with this. The actual figure itself will come on pop art card back. This is something that's very different to what they've done before. I've got to say, this is the easiest pass that Hasbro has ever done for me. I'm not a fan of the multicolored stuff. I'm sure it would certainly make for an interesting piece in your collection, but yeah, like I say, easy pass for me. They then spoke about Boba Fett, and obviously he was initially released on a Star Wars card back after the mail away promotion. Now the colour scheme on this one, they're actually talking about putting on a Black Series figure. So this is the Kenner inspired deco on him. He is going to come with a Stormtrooper blaster as well, and he will come on a Star Wars card back. Again, this one's to be a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, although they did say that he will be showing up at some other conventions around the world. Definitely one that I'm looking to pick up loose. May look to get a second one to keep carded as well. Now for me, this set of three figures was the biggest reveal from the panel. These are all three new head sculpts. The Stormtrooper figure on the left there actually has a new torso, a new belt with a grappling hook on the back, so that it is specific to Luke Skywalker, and he is going to be slightly shorter than your standard one, typical with to actually fit in with the character. Now the Luke Jedi figure in the middle there, he's going to have a new head, new hands, and soft goods cloak rather than a robe which actually has the sleeve. So this one is going to be sleeveless. So yes, much improved over the couple of last iterations that we received there. And finally we have the Luke in X-Wing pilot outfit. Now this is an all new sculpt and actually looks incredibly similar to the Black Series version, certainly in the way that the body is stood there. The helmet sculpt also looks practically identical, just like a scaled down version of the Black Series version. So that's a great figure. This should be too, and again, nice new face sculpt. All of these have indeed got the face printing deco as well, which seems to be coming as standard. This is going to be coming, as you can see, in a beautiful action figure set 3-pack. This is going to have foil racetrack and lettering of Star Wars at the top there, so will be a particularly special one. This again is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, but they've said it's also going to be available at Fan Expo Canada, PAX Australia, ACG Hong Kong, Comic Portugal, Comic-Con Madrid, Salon Manga Barcelona, Lucca Comic-Con Italy, London MCN Comic-Con in October, Unboxing Toy Convention in Mexico, Asia Comic Con in Malaysia, and SDGCC in Singapore. That's a mouthful and a half. So yeah, plenty of opportunities for this to be available. By the sounds of it, the usual retailers over here are going to have access to that as well. So even if you can't get to the convention, there's still a decent chance that you can get hold of this set. So moving on to the Black Series helmets. Obviously they've done some lovely ones in the past. They seem to be getting better all the time. I've got the Poe Dameron one, and that is a very nice helmet indeed. But they're actually releasing a Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot helmet, and this one apparently has the most paint applications they've done on any of the helmets so far. It's going to have lovely padded details on the inside, so it's nice and comfortable to wear. The microphone doesn't work, unfortunately, but it's not the end of the world. The sound effects are going to be surround sound and will have sounds from the Battle of Yavin and also the Battle of Hoth, so you can switch between the two depending on what you're looking to recreate. It's also going to have lights installed just inside the visor, so that when a TIE fighter does a strafing run, you can just about see there that it's going to light up and make it look like the TIE fighter is actually shooting at you. So yeah, have to get that in hand to actually see how it works, but it certainly looks very good. So following the panel, there was a Q&A session, and Mark Boudreau got a huge round of applause for his work on the barge. They did ask if there was any sort of Death Star playset as a next HasLab, but Hasbro wouldn't confirm anything on that yet. Still too early, they need to assess how the last one went. They were asked if there were going to be any Clone Wars or Mandalorian figures coming up, and again, can't confirm yet, but they did heavily hint that yes, this was likely. Asked about a Bib Fortuna figure in the vintage line. Again, no plans as yet, but it's a good shout for a character. They were also asked about the font in the name pill and any chance that it could be made larger. Now, what I mean by that is precisely shown on Jedi Temple Archives. The original stuff from 1983 was a much larger font with a smaller description of the character name underneath, and 2019 stuff is much all in the same font. It doesn't quite work as well as it should. Now, they did allude to the fact that the standards have actually changed since 1980s, but they are aware of the frustrations and are going to work as hard as they can to get it closer to the original vintage style on those. So next up, there was people asking for more EU characters. Again, they'll look at them in future, but nothing to announce. Somebody asked about a Dooku Force Effects lightsaber. Again, it's a good shout, but can't confirm anything. Somebody asked about bringing back the Action Fleet collectibles from the Micro Machines line. They are big fans of the line, but they have no plans at the moment. If you do want something like that, you need to get out there on social media and be vocal about it, drum up some support for that sort of thing. Another person highlighted that there seems to be a heck of a lot of barge love at the moment, but no cantina love. So Hasbro's comment to this was obviously with the barge being released, that's where their focus of the figures is for the moment, really trying to flesh out that scene. They haven't forgotten about the cantina, and there's some interesting stuff coming in the vintage collection in the future. Didn't elaborate on that, unfortunately. Now, after the panel completely finished, there was a prototype video really revealed of a new type of lightsaber. This is something that actually uses light and smoke to make the lightsaber appear. Essentially, it's a flashlight with a smoke generator inside it. So you won't be able to clash sabers, but it will certainly appear to come out of the handle. There were no photos, like I say, or video allowed of this particular section, so we haven't got any of that. But it certainly sounds like an interesting one and one to look out for when they do actually make it available. Finally, all of the panel was videoed by Fantatrax and is up on their YouTube channel. If you do want to go and take a look at it, I'll leave a link in the description down below. So that was day 2 of Star Wars Celebration, and everything that really came from a Hasbro point of view. That was the big one as far as towards the Jedi are concerned. But there will still be more stuff to talk about over the next couple of days. Obviously, we've got the Mandalorian panel and the Clone Wars and indeed Resistance panels coming up over the weekend. So more images that come out, the more we'll have a look at and see what would make a good toy, what wouldn't, and we'll obviously feature that on the channel. If you've enjoyed the show, please do click the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you're given a heads up anytime we release a new video. We are on Instagram and Twitter, both at Toys of the Jedi, so give us a follow there for up to the minute information as we find stuff. So thank you very much for joining us today, and until next time.